Hi guys, so Pete Wishart of the SNP clashed with Michael Gove on the issue of Brexit. So let's hear what they had to say.
Enjoy your Brexit, my Conservative friends. We will be coming with you. You may be getting going from the EU, but is it right that we are getting going from the UK?
Yeah. Mr. Duchy.
Well, it's always a pleasure to see the honourable gentleman. And it's particularly good to see him in his place here in the chamber. I have to say that is a particularly brave move, given the comments of the First Minister of Scotland over the course of the weekend, because it may well be the case, if as rumoured, that quarantine regulations mean that people can't move from England to Scotland, that he'll be imprisoned in his place for far longer than he ever anticipated.
Why are you making a joke about this? Is it not serious that there is a difference in the approach between England and Scotland surrounding the pandemic? And Scotland seem to be taking a better approach than England, and they're concerned about people bringing the virus across the border. I don't understand why it's a joking matter, Michael Gove.
But I for one will be cheering because I so enjoy his company. The honourable gentleman, as is his wont and as is his right, chose to skate lightly over the detail in his response, but nevertheless he made a number of important points. He suggested that as a result of our departure from the European Union, we would be curbing devolution. That's not the case. It is the case that there are more than 100 powers that return to the Scottish Parliament as a result of our leaving the European Union.
Can you give an example of some of these powers, Michael? Are you going to skip over the details here? It'd be nice to hear some of the examples of what powers Scotland are going to receive. And this is a bit of a contrast to the video that I made yesterday, where Scotland are going to lose, or it's looking more and more likely that Scotland will lose power. That many Tory MPs are dead against devolution and certainly against independence, and are looking to take devolution away to bring powers back to Westminster.
Far from being a power grab, it is a power surge for all of the parliaments of the United Kingdom. He also made the point that which we know that it's the Scottish National Party's policy to leave the UK, but then to join the European Union, which would mean that all of those powers that flow to the Scottish Parliament would be returned to Brussels.
Actually, that's not what they wanted. They didn't want to leave the European Union in the first place. You wanted to leave the European Union. Do you not understand that Scotland, as a country, voted to remain? You decided that you wanted to leave. You wanted to tear Scotland out. They didn't want to leave. So it's a little bit different than what you're actually saying.
Including, of course, the return of Scotland's capacity to regulate its own fishing waters to the EU as Scotland was shackled to the common fisheries policy.
Now, how do you know that that would be the case? The common fisheries policy has changed over the last number of years. Now, I have said on this channel before that I'm not a fan of the common fisheries policy, but it has changed. Now, let's say, for example, Scotland is a part of the common fisheries policy. Well, the Brexiteers will be delighted with that. Look, you're part of the common fisheries policy now. We are not. We're free of it. We are able to fish wherever we want. Yes, but who are you going to sell that fish to? If Scotland is part of the EU and it catches fish in its territory, then it's free to sell fish to the EU, while England will not be able to do that. So while you're presenting it as, look, you'll be stuck in the EU, yes, but there are advantages to that, Michael. I know you don't like the idea of being part of the EU, or maybe you don't actually care. You just want to present the idea that it's the idea as bad because you need to keep the Brexiteers on your side. But if Scotland is part of the EU, there are compromises, there are positives and there are negatives. But if you're talking about fish, well, they'll be able to sell their fish tariff-free. It won't be the same case for England. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you would be able to work out a deal. But that's still not set in stone yet.
So the SNP's position, curiously, is to demand fewer powers for the Scottish Parliament and more powers for the European Commission. Not, I think, a popular view in Fraserburgh. And then the final thing that I would say is that the honourable gentleman, of course, talked about our proposals, which are designed to ensure that Scotland's businesses and Scotland's citizens can continue to sell their goods and their services into the rest of the UK. He, instead of welcoming that collaborative working, talked about these policies being a recruiting sergeant for independence.
But if Scotland is leaving, and you're talking about, well, you'll still be able to export into the UK, to the rest of the UK. Maybe I'm missing something here because I don't know exactly what Michael Gove is talking about. He said our proposals. I'm not sure which proposals he's talking about. But if he's talking about the idea of Scotland becoming independent and England would still allow them to export into that country, well, why would that be a problem? But also, why are you talking about independence if you don't want Scotland to be independent?
I would say that the mask slipped, but indeed he's never worn a mask to hide his intention.
And now we're back into the insults. Yeah, so you're the mask slipping and you're a nationalist and you're a separatist.
He's a separatist, he's a nationalist. I love him dearly.
And then we have the fake friendship here from Michael Gove. Of course, Michael Gove probably doesn't have any friends because we remember when he was interviewed by Sky News about Dominic Cummings. Why didn't Dominic Cummings call you up as a friend? He's like, why would Dominic Cummings call me up as a friend? Anyway, this is just, once again, Brexiteers attempting to convince the Scottish people you don't want independence. I know we tricked you into voting to remain in the UK the last time, and then we threw you under the Brexit bus, and now your economy is going to suffer because of Brexit. We still want to convince you that independence is a bad idea. We've ripped you away from the European Union. We don't want you to reunite with the European Union. We want you to stay in our quagmire. We want you to suffer as we have suffered, as we are going to suffer. We don't want you being free. It's so ironic how Brexiteers continually, over the last number of years, have been banging on about we need to be free, we need to be free, we need to be free. And then as soon as Scotland says, yes, we'd like to be free too. No, you can't be free. You have to stay here. We have decided. I think next year is going to be a pivotal year surrounding Brexit, surrounding Scottish independence and devolution. And I'm afraid the Tories have some dirty tricks up their sleeves. I fear that they're going to attempt to, in a sense, water down devolution because they can't stop a referendum taking place in Scotland. But they can attempt to bring power back to Westminster, and that would kill any devolution and possibly, I don't know, but possibly a referendum and finally Scottish independence. Let me know in the comments section what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun. If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.